My name is Isegohi. I am an entrepreneur, but I also am a speaker and a self-development expert. I focus on self-leadership and also the art of authenticity. But in the past, I started a vision or a mission of using fitness as a vehicle for self-empowerment. And I worked in that space. I worked with athletes and I worked with people in general. So I was able to start a franchise movement in the United States that had the span of Arizona and also Los Angeles. I was able to launch a nonprofit foundation that helped children in the capacity of not just fighting obesity, but also finding and building their self-esteem. So in that regards, I'm now living in Montreal, Canada, and I think the facility that we've established here is the first of its kind in the sense that it's a self-development facility, but also has a fitness movement even within it. So athletes come here as well as the general public. So I'm also an author. So in that regards, everything is in the same line. It's about self-leadership and authenticity. So the role that my identity plays in the space of spiritual fitness, I feel as though, if I'm really to get into it specifically, is I believe everything is interconnected. So if you look at my space, even from the very first location that I had started in Arizona and even in Canada, I don't allow mirrors in any of my facilities. I feel as though the process of looking for strength within, as opposed to looking for strength outside, it's really truly spiritual. And that was by intention. Because I feel as though we live in a world where people give so much credence to vanity as opposed to strength coming within. And I wanted to play a role in changing that narrative, to letting folks know, even within the space in which I have created a movement where we're using fitness as a vehicle for self-empowerment, even within the space, I wanted to show it in a physical way where you don't see any mirrors. You literally have to go within to draw strength. You don't have to look at yourself in the mirror and see how great you are for you to draw strength. It's within. And if you can get in the habit of doing that, you'll find out very quickly in life, you can always rely on yourself. You can be self-dependent as opposed to relying on strength and encouragement from an outside factor. In every community we've been at, and we've been in numerous communities. We even have communities in South Africa. We have communities now in Brazil. We have communities in London, England. We have communities in West Africa and in Montreal, Canada, in LA. In every community, and that's just to mention a few, we've had a huge impact. And the impact that it has transcends the space of being within my gym, which is also by intention. So what we wanted to do was create this kind of a mindset, this kind of a culture as it pertains to fitness, where you now take that into your own community. So you go home and you have that kind of a mindset. So if I'm able to change your day because of the experience you had in my facility, I'm hoping you can also go home and change your community. I'll give you a clear example. So after every class, since we're talking about fitness, after every class in any of my facilities, we finish with a minute of inspirational words. It's called a power minute. After every class, every single day, right? So your experience here always finishes on a high and motivational or inspirational note. My hope is that you can now share that energy within your community, and that happens to be the case all the time. I've got numerous letters and even videos of people in countries that I've never been to. And they share videos of what we've done or messages that we've shared and how it has impacted their lives. And even our merchandise has a powerful statement on it. It says this on it, which means true healthcare is self-care. And that's the acronym THIS, and people wear that. And they send me pictures from all over the world. So my goal was to transcend the space of fitness. And I feel like that's how we've impacted our communities, or any community that we've been in. the narrative of sports itself has to change in regards to that. Not in its entirety, because there's some places and there's some disciplines that do that, but there's some sports where the majority of the folks that play the sports are Caucasians, and you don't have a great representation of the diversity that even the city in which the sport is played is shown. Perhaps they could do a better job of inviting and letting other cultures know that they are welcome. That doesn't just happen by chance. Saying you welcome every culture isn't good enough. Not taking action to make them feel welcome isn't good enough. Your lack of action makes you complicit in that problem in and of itself. I think it's important that you take an active step in making sure all the cultures participate in that sport and celebrate their involvement, so they don't feel as though they're just making up numbers. You see what I'm saying? Not making up numbers. You actually, the diversity is celebrated within that space, which just makes for a better world, and it makes it even more enjoyable. And in fact, it affects the bottom line. So I've always been a little surprised that organizations haven't done a better job in making different cultures even more welcome and within the sport in which they play. The best way to teach self-care to kids is, first of all, recognize the importance of self-care. And the best way to see the importance of self-care is kind of look at the consequences of not having it. So if you look at adults, some adults today, they didn't take care of themselves from a spiritual sense, from a physical sense, from an intellectual perspective, even a social perspective. They haven't taken care of themselves in that. We can see the detrimental aspects or results or consequences of it, especially during this pandemic, because you become very fragile. It's like a tree without roots. If you don't have any roots, when you go through any tough experiences, that tree topples over. But a tree that is very deeply rooted on some disciplines, especially on self-care, you can stand a test of any time or a test of any challenges. And I find that when you look at adults today and look at the challenges, it reminds us further the importance of making sure the kids are set on the right path. All right, we don't want to set them up for the challenge. We don't want to set them up for failure because they don't have to. And nowadays, if you look at even in our facility, that's why I started the foundation that I did in the States. That ended up being an award-winning foundation because of the simple fact that we cared about, changing the narrative for kids, empowering the kids to know that they can be self-dependent in regards to their own health. Your health is your responsibility, and you're not too young to know this. And that I feel as though that is important, a conversation to have with kids from a very early age, because if they lack the lessons they should learn from that, it would affect their adulthood. And we see that everywhere we go now. Mental health has become a little bit more open, more out there than it was before. It's always been out there, but we were just not ready to accept it. We look down on it. Everybody pretended like they were all right. And then now we begin to find out you're not okay. And it's okay not to be okay. And I think that whole narrative and that way of self-healing can be started from a very early age. I'll make this point. It's important to start the process of being strong and self-healing before you need to be healed. It's like saying you've got to be proactive rather than reactive. And I think that's what the industry needs to kind of focus on as well, is, helping people to be proactive rather than reactive. What can the industry do to be more inclusive? I think include everybody might be a great start. Change the narrative and change the visual, because what you see is what you believe. We live in a world where everything is visual now. We live in a digital age. Everything is Instagram, everything is TikTok, and it's what you see, it's what you believe. So I think we might need to start changing the outlook, the way we're perceived. You see what I'm saying? Because if you can change that a little bit to make it not just, not everybody can be a Michael Jordan, but within everybody, they have the potential to be a Michael Jordan. I think we need to celebrate people's potential, not just what they've accomplished. We live in a world now where all you see is everybody's Showtime reel, and you're just getting started and you feel like you're not good enough, but you don't realize they were once where you were at and they kind of worked their way to get there. So I think the industry could celebrate people that are fighting within their struggle in a positive way to do great. We could celebrate that process rather than celebrate only their accomplishments. And I think that is an important distinction that needs to be acknowledged. In one word, authenticity.